So for today's video, we're going to be going over the iPhone 15 Pro Max and my first impressions on it. So first, we're going to go over the design of the phone. I was coming from the iPhone 14 Pro Max, so the size of the phone is very similar to it, but the feel in the hand of the phone is very different. The iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are both made out of a titanium frame. Meanwhile, the 14 Pro and Max are made of a stainless steel frame, and because of titanium, it feels way lighter in the hand. When I'm holding both phones in my hand, I can immediately see the difference in which phone I'm holding because of the weight difference of the phones. Also, with titanium, it also makes the phone more grippy in the hand. I've noticed while using it every day for the past week that it's way grippier in my hand more than my 14 Pro Max. When I first got my 14 Pro Max, I saw how slippery it was in my hand, and I was really fearful of dropping it. But with the 15 Pro Max, I definitely feel less like there's a less chance of me dropping my phone, and because of it slipping out of my hand. The camera bump on the phone is definitely somewhat bigger than the previous phone. The actual square bump where the lenses are is the same size, but the actual lenses where the three cameras sit is actually bigger. I learned this because I put one of my old cases on my 15 Pro Max, and I realized the case does fit, and the slots where the camera lenses go into actually fit in perfectly. But another thing is the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a little bit smaller than the predecessor 14 Pro Max, and that when I actually put it into my old case, there was some wiggle room in the phone, so I did notice that I it was working with less space, and the phone is actually smaller than its predecessor. Being made out of titanium, it is still a fingerprint magnet like the stainless steel version of it. And honestly, this is not really a big deal for me. I was already used to fingerprints on my 14, and now seeing the fingerprints on my 15, it's not a big deal unless you put a case on it. And I will be using a case on my phone. I'll put a picture up of the case I'm using right here so you can see what I'm using. One other quick thing is the iPhone 15 Pro Max cases don't fit on my 14 Pro Max. I only have one case for mine. Well, there's only one case I tried on mine, and it didn't fit my 14 at all. So now we're gonna go over specs of the phone. The iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are running the Apple A17 Pro chip, which I think is really interesting. The fact that they named it the 17 Pro, because iPhone 15s, the 15 Plus, are running the A16 chip, and over the last few years, there's been a recurring theme that when they release new Pro and Pro Max phones, it will have a new chip, but the 14, for example, the 14 and 14 Plus had the chip from last year. So now that the fact that they named the chip the A17 Pro, I feel, or actually I'll predict, next year when they release the iPhone 16s, the iPhone 16, 16 and 16 Plus will be the A17, and iPhone 16 Pros will be the A18, which should give, basically we're getting the Pro chip but on a lesser level for the regular iPhones for next year. So I have to wait until next year to see if that really happens. But back to the specs. Using the phone, I have not had any hiccups when using the UI or scrolling around the interface and using apps and closing apps. I think it's because of the fact that iPhone 15 Pros now use 8 gigabytes of RAMs. And I remember previously they always had 6 and I think 4 more years back. But the UI is very responsive and very snappy. I haven't had any issues at all. But now when it comes to battery life has been great for me. It is, what I can say is very similar to the battery life I've been getting on my 14 Pro Max. So I have no complaints about that. And honestly, the battery lasts me more than a day. I can use my whole phone the day without having to charge it. I can leave it overnight and still have juice for the next day to continue using my phone with no issue. Maybe more than halfway through the second day is when I need to charge my phone again, and that's honestly a very good battery cycle, in my opinion. Being able to use your phone for more than a day and not having to charge it shows really the battery has a all day battery life. So I also did some benchmark tests for my 15 Pro Max, and I'll be putting images up on the screen of the results I got. So as you can see, on my 15 Pro Max, I did get a higher score on both tests on my 15 Pro Max than my 14 Pro Max. I'm also including the results I got on my iPad Pro M1 just to show another benchmark comparing of how close the 15 Pro Max in benchmark results is getting close to the M1 chip. And like I said, as you can see, all the scores I'm getting for CPU, single core, and multi core, and GPU score is a significant step up on, well, a step up from the 15 Pro Max from the 14 Pro Max. And while I'm on the topic of the benchmark, all electronics heat up. And with this new A17 Pro chip, I feel that it is a chip that will run hotter than the last chips, and because titanium is one of the main parts of the phone, that titanium will be absorbing the heat more, and us, the user of the phone, will be feeling the heat dissipating from the phone where we're doing any task that would cause the phone to need to do a lot of work, use a lot of resources, and heat up as a result. And I feel this is not a big thing for me personally. Using the phone for these last days, I have not noticed any uncomfortable amount of heat coming out of my phone. And even on my previous phone, my phone would heat up, and but it was never to the point where it was like I can't hold anymore. It was something I was fearful of because it's just a normal thing to happen with your phone. And even during the benchmark test, I was checking the temperature of all my phones and the iPad to see where and how hot it gets. And the 15 Pro Max did heat up, but it never heated up to the point where it was uncomfortable to the touch, or I wanted to stop the test to have the phone cool down, thinking that something would even break on the phone. All iPhones have a setting in the software where the phone actually gets too hot for the phone to even work, that the iPhone will show you a screen. I'll put a screenshot of what it looks like. It will show a screen telling you your phone is too hot and it needs to cool down. But I've never seen that screen before with how hot my 15 Pro Max gets, and I've never seen the screen before on any of my iPhones. So I feel that might be a it might be an iPhone 15 Pro Max specific issue people are experiencing, or people may be just overestimating how hot the phone is really getting, because it is normal for your phone to get hot when you're doing very tasking things like recording a 4K video in 60 FPS, or you're rendering a 3D model, or doing something that takes a lot of data for your phone, or using your phone in the sun makes your phone heat up overall. But I've had no issues when it comes to heat or overheating on my 15 Pro Max. So now let's talk about the camera. The camera on the 15 Pro, I can definitely say, is a small step forward when it comes to being compared to the 14 Pro Max camera system. The little additions they added were now you're able to take 24 megapixel and 48 megapixel JPEGs on your phone, which before, the 48 megapixel of their camera was locked to only when you take Apple RAW photos, but now they're able to expand it, so now you can take it on your JPEGs as well. RAW photos are when you want to take a picture and retain all the minute details on it, and then when using those details in editing, mostly used by photographers. But now with JPEG, it's called JPEG Max. You're able to get all that detail without having to do all the after work when it comes to editing the pictures. Now, when it comes to video, I can say that it is also another step up to the quality and the options when it comes to recording video. And now you're able to record an Apple log, which a log was a video format used mostly in the very expensive DSLR and mirrorless cameras, where you're able to take high quality video in a more flat format, and it gives you all the range and all the options when it comes to color grading and editing the video to make sure all the lighting and the LUTs are exactly the way you want it to be. And being able to do that on an iPhone, it really speaks for itself. I'll be having you are right now. You'll be seeing as I'm talking all the footage, pictures, and videos I've been taking to show you examples. And honestly, I do use my iPhone a lot just for pictures and video. And what Apple has been doing with their camera for pictures and video has been really, really good. And I know that this is a selling point for some people when it comes to buying iPhones. And I can definitely say I am one of those people now as well for just using my iPhone for pictures and video. So now, finally, all the iPhone 15 lineup all come with USB Type C. With this USB Type C, honestly, I'm very excited because I can say majority of the things I use in my everyday life all use USB Type C. USB Type C is a very universal kind of cord slash cable because of all the things you're able to do with it. With USB Type C, you're able to send power, give power, display visuals, send data, even provide internet to some devices. And now all this will be available on your iPhone 15, 15, and Pro Max. Apple's been using Lightning for a long time now, and them now switching to Type C, which I believe is because of the new Europe law coming out. Well, that needs to be finalized very soon in a few years. They're now having to jump the gun and now using USB Type C on their 2023, well, 2024 lineup of iPhones as them trying to get it over with at this point. And I also feel that when they added the Type C, they also did it in their own Apple way. And I say that because when it comes to data transfers with the Type C on iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, it still uses USB 2 speeds, which has been a very slower transfer rate. And this USB 2 speed, USB 2 came out, I think, over 10 years ago. But however, on the 15 Pro and Pro Max, it's using USB 3 speeds, which is leagues faster than USB 2 speeds. So them locking the high-speed data transfer to the 15 Pros is kind of the Apple thing to do. I'm not that surprised it did it. I kind of felt like they would have done this either way, because that's just their thing to do. But either way, when it comes to common uses of the USB Type C on your, whether you get the 15 or 15 Pros, USB Type C will be better for you. However, when it comes to the Pro Maxes and Type C, there's some other things you can do. For example, when you're shooting in ProRes 4K, iPhones are only allowed up to ProRes 4K 30 FPS. However, when you plug in a external SSD that is USB Type C into your iPhone 15 Pro or 15 Pro Max, you're able to record directly onto the external storage at up to 4K 60 FPS. And this is something I personally was looking forward to, of being able to do 4K 60 on my iPhone. After seeing the quality of ProRes, there were some shots I wish I could have done in 4K 60 just so I can put it into slow motion, have that great quality while also having that smooth slow motion. So definitely in my follow-up video about iPhone 15 Pro Max, I'll definitely be showing you what the iPhone can do when it comes to plugging a external hard drive into your 15 Pro Max. There are also some other things you could do with your Type C port on iPhone 15. You're able to actually use a Type C to Type C cord and charge other devices. You're able to charge your AirPods if they're Type C or if they're Lightning. You're able to charge your Apple Watch with a Type C cord, and you're actually able to charge other iPhones. If you plug in two iPhones that are both Type C, so two iPhone 15s, the iPhone 15 with the lesser battery will be the one getting charged, while the one with more battery will be giving the charge. And then if you plug in an iPhone 15 with the Type-C cord into a Lightning iPhone, with any iPhone 14 Pro below, only the iPhone 14 Pro, only the iPhone 14s or below will be getting the charge. So now let's talk about one of the other features that were added on with the iPhone 15 Pro Maxes. They added the action button. It replaces the ringer slash silent button on the side of the phone next to the volume buttons. But now with this action button, you're able to set it to do multiple different things on your iPhone 15 Pro. You're able to set it to the classic silent and ringer on your iPhone, but also you can make it switch your focus status. You can make it switch to open the camera whenever you click on it. You can make it be the flashlight. You can even set it to immediately record a voice memo. Even make it your magnifier, or even you can set it to be any shortcuts you have in your phone, which opens up a range of possibilities of things you can do to automate. You can even make, I've seen some people make their action button unlock their car door, open their garage, turn on the lights in their house, open up a quick note, or even open up Twitter, now called X, to immediately send a tweet or post a tweet. So I think the action button was a very interesting addition that Apple added to the phone. I feel like they wanted to add that just like how they added it to the Apple Watch Ultra. So I can't really complain about it, but I do like the fact that now I'm able to map a specific action to a button on my iPhone 15 Pro Max. So once again, iPhone 15, all iPhone 15s, Pro or not, come with the dynamic island. I was coming from the iPhone 14 Pro line, so I'm already used to dynamic island and the features it lets me use, which honestly I feel like the dynamic island is just, not only does it house the front camera and the Face ID, it just adds on little things to the interface when doing anything. Whether you're using Apple Maps to navigate somewhere, it shows you the next step in what you're traveling to do. When you order food on Uber Eats, it'll show you a countdown of how long until your food gets there. When listening to music, it shows the current song you're playing, and then you can interact with it and pause or go to the next song. When I'm watching my football games, it shows me the score. While I'm just navigating through the phone, I'm able to keep up with the score, and any notifications I get, it'll pop down and show me what happened within it. And for somebody who is coming from anything before the 14 Pro, 14 or below, I feel that the dynamic island is a feature that anybody would love. The fact that it just adds on more interactability onto the screen itself is just a plus, honestly, in my opinion. Just giving you more interactability with what you're doing on the screen without having to actually directly go to that app is just good. Imagine having to change your song without having to go to the music app. Imagine being able to see when your delivery will get here without having to go to that app. And just all the possibilities and all the apps that are now opening up their accessibility to using Dynamic Island have all been implemented in ways that just add on to the experience of using the iPhone and the experience of using that app on the iPhone. So this has been my first impressions with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. So far, I haven't seen anything bad about the phone, but then again, this is only my first week using the phone. So definitely look out for my 1 month later video about the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and we'll do a deeper dive into things I don't like and like about the phone, things I use, things I don't use, and things I thought I would be using. So thank you again for watching my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any ideas for any videos you would like me to do or any questions about any tech I use, please don't be afraid to comment down below. I love to see your comments on my videos and I love to answer them. So keep up the support and I'll see you in my next video.